Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another webinar on creative writing. Today, we're going to be talking about show, don't tell. It's one of the most famous rules of creative writing, or really any writing, but it can really help take your writing from plain and maybe not so interesting to really interesting and really fun. And it's not even that hard to do. It's like a secret weapon in every writer's tool belt. So let's see who we have here in the webinar today. We have Joseph, AG, Ahmed, Ashi, Aziz, Ethan, Evelyn, Fallon, Gayatri, Isis, Kiara, Layla, Lorna, Madeline, Milo, Mimi, Nalia, Olivia, Ronbeer, Shanna, and VS. Hi, everybody. It's good to see a lot of you back again, and welcome to some names that might be first timers. I'm really happy to have you all here for another creative writing class. I love to write and I love reading everything that you guys write. So I think today is going to be another really fun one. All right. So as always, if you have any questions about what we go over, feel free to write them in the Q&A box down at the bottom of your screen, and we'll try to answer any questions that you have. When we start talking about making up examples, go ahead and write those in the Q&A box too. And I will be able to share some of your answers with the rest of the class. So let's get into it. All right. So show, don't tell. Here's the question. How do you make your reader feel like they're in the story? If you've ever read a really good book or a really good story, you kind of forget where you are. You kind of forget that you're even reading a book. You're just in the world of the story for a little bit. You might even forget what time it is or where you are because you're so immersed in the story. You feel like you're inside of it. You're like underneath the ocean of the description of the story. And you may not realize what the writer's doing to do that, but writers have a few tricks that they use to make you feel like you're not just reading a book, but you're there. And here's the secret. Don't tell your readers what is happening in the story. Describe what is happening in order to show them. Here's an example. How would you describe this person? Take a good look at that guy. As writers, what could we write down to tell a reader who doesn't have the picture in front of them what we see? One way you could do this is you could say, the man looked angry. I'd never seen someone so mad. And I think we've probably all read some writing that was like that at some point. We've probably all written some writing like that. I know I've done writing like that. We're not proud of it. It's kind of boring. For our readers, it's not super interesting to just read, he was mad. He was so mad. I can see in the Q&A box, some of you say he looks angry, he looks mad, he looks frustrated. Yeah, that's right. I agree with all of you. But maybe there's a way that we could be more descriptive with what we're saying. How about this? Let's try again, but this time, instead of telling what's happening, let's show what we see. And it's okay to get really descriptive or even get really creative. In most stories or books, when you're past the stage of writing like picture books or reading picture books, most books written for middle school readers, high school readers, and adults, they don't have a lot of pictures in them. So you have to be descriptive with how you write your story or your book, and you have to be able to paint a picture in the reader's mind. So let's look at that same picture of that person, but here is how I'm going to try to show you what this guy looks like, even if you couldn't see him. Here's my attempt at it. The man snarled, bits of spit flying from his mouth. The muscles of his sweaty face and neck bunched as he bared his teeth like a tiger about to bite. So even if you couldn't see this picture, If you cover up that picture for a second on your screen and you just read that description, it doesn't actually use the word mad or angry, but it describes a person that you can clearly get the sense that he's angry or he's mad or he's ferocious, or maybe he's even a zombie about to attack. But for good descriptive writing, it's better to try to help your reader feel the way that somebody in that situation would feel, and try to help them see what the person in that situation would see. Readers like to come to their own conclusions about what's happening in the story. They don't really like to be told how they feel. They'd much rather decide on their own how they feel. So instead of telling the reader, you see this angry guy. Oh, he is so angry. You've never seen somebody so angry. No. Instead, tell them what they see and let them feel that this guy is angry. Maybe let the reader feel a little bit afraid because this guy seems ferocious and dangerous. He feels like he's about to attack. Any reader that can, read this description, they'll feel that way for themselves without you telling them. Let's see. I think some of you have already written your own descriptions in here. Madeline says, so angry he looked like a mad bull. Yeah, I like that one. We have one person. Sasha just came in. What are we talking about? Sasha, we are talking about a tool in creative writing called Show, Don't Tell. And that's basically, how do we help our reader experience what's happening in the story without telling them how they're supposed to feel, or just saying, the man was super mad, guys, like so mad. It's not great writing. Today we're talking all about how you can get very descriptive with what the reader would see if they were in the story, so they can kind of experience it for themselves instead of being told about it. I hope that helps. So yeah, this is the first example we've looked at. Instead of just saying he's so mad, we said the man snarled, bits of spit flying from his mouth. The muscles of his sweaty face and neck bunched as he bared his teeth like a tiger about to bite. So some of what we did there is we described what he looked like. We described what he was doing. We tried to take some of the most interesting, action-packed parts of what's happening here. We're describing his teeth. We're describing his muscles, the fact that his face looks a little bit shiny. Usually when a person's sweating, they're like, some intense emotion is occurring maybe, or intense activity. So we can communicate a lot more through showing what's happening than just trying to tell the reader. Do you think that was a little bit more interesting to read? I hope so. I found it more interesting to write, at least. Let's try another example. I stood by a stream and looked at the trees and the cliffs around me. They were really pretty. I felt really amazed at how big everything was. So I'm talking about a stream, I'm talking about trees and cliffs. I tell you that they're really pretty, and I tell you how I felt about looking around at these cliffs and these trees because they're really big. This paragraph is all telling. I'm telling you that I see things, and I'm telling you that they're pretty, that I feel amazed. But I'm going to guess that you don't get a lot of emotion from this. I'm guessing that in your mind, you might see some stuff, but the more a writer shows and uses descriptive language to tell you what they're seeing, I think the more that you as a reader will really get a strong picture in your mind. Because writing, again, is all about communication. And the best way to communicate is with images and descriptive writing that can really help the picture in your mind get across to the reader. So again, just telling the reader that something's pretty, okay, sure. They might have whatever interpretation of that they want, of why it's pretty or whatnot. But if we can get really descriptive and exact with what we see, the reader can feel that something was pretty for themselves. So here's my example of that. Let's read this one more time. I stood by a stream and looked at the trees and the cliffs around me. They were really pretty. I felt really amazed at how big everything was. Here's, oh yeah, is that the best we can do? Let's try again with more showing instead of telling. Here's attempt number 2. Ice cold creek water splashed gently over rocks by my feet. I lifted my eyes and gasped when I saw the towering cliffs, which stood like quiet stone skyscrapers against an ocean blue sky. So this paragraph isn't much longer than the other one. It's about the same length. And it also mentions the creek. It mentions the cliffs. It talks about the sky. It includes a lot of the same information, but the way that it describes it is a little bit different. It uses descriptive words like ice cold. It says towering cliffs, like quiet stone skyscrapers, ocean blue sky. It uses describing words to try to help you see the picture in your mind. It doesn't tell you, I felt amazed, or it was pretty. Instead, we're trying to help the reader get these feelings for themselves by how we describe it. I lifted my eyes and gasped when I saw the towering cliffs, which stood like quiet stone skyscrapers against an ocean blue sky. Hopefully the reader will feel that we were like, whoa, and like amazed at what we saw when we saw these giant cliffs. Let's see. You guys wrote some great examples here in the Q&A box. I'm going to read a couple of these really fast. Isis, for that angry man, Isis said, his eyes turned cold and his sneer turned into a scowl. He glared at me and said, you know nothing of what I've gone through, so don't try to tell me you understand. I backed away, afraid he would strike me with his sword. I like that. Yeah, there's a lot of showing there. It's describing things that they're doing. It's not saying that the guy is angry. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of motion in there. I like it. Here's Ethan's example. He says, his nose was scrunched like he had smelled something foul, his eyes flaring, making a dragon's fire look like nothing compared to him. His mouth open as if about to yell, his eyebrows almost in a V kind of angle with anger. I like it. It's very descriptive. I like the part about his nose scrunching up like he smells something foul. Very descriptive. All right. So, somebody asks, was that Hugh Jackman in the picture? I think so. Yeah, I found it on Google Images. I think it was Hugh Jackman. All right, good. He's the actor that played Wolverine in all the X-Men movies. Here's the picture that I was looking at when I wrote that. When I looked at this, I didn't just want to say it was pretty and I was amazed at how tall the cliffs were. I really wanted to describe that these cliffs looked as tall as skyscrapers, and I wanted to describe the ice cold water over the rocks. If we had more space and more time, we could do a lot more description of this. We could talk about the wind. We could talk about, what things looked like, what they felt like. We have, there are 5 main senses that people have. We can see things, we can hear things, we can smell things, we can taste things, and we can feel things. So your 5 kind of basic senses, use those senses to kind of pull your reader in. When we say show, we don't just mean like what you can see. You can also describe how things feel. You can describe how things sound. You can describe how things taste or smell, or describe how things feel. If we're describing a cat, you might not just say that the cat, you could say, it was a really cute cat and leave it at that. Or you could say that the cat's fur was as white as the milk it was drinking. It made a quiet tapping sound as it lapped up its, treat. You could describe the cat's fur, and talk about how soft it is, like the softest baby blanket. You could describe the way, instead of just saying, it's a cute cat or it's a pretty cat, you can get into the 5 senses and try to kind of put your reader there next to the animal and describe how it feels, how it looks, how it sounds. And then it's more like the reader's there experiencing it for themselves. All right, so here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to pull up a few pictures, and I want everybody at home to describe these pictures with as much descriptive language as you can, and really try to not say, you know, like that man, don't use the word angry. Don't use the word mad. Describe what you see. Tell us what you see, what you hear, what you feel, so that we can kind of get the sense of how that person is for ourselves. Okay, so I think this next picture is pretty fun. Here we go. This is a candy store somewhere. What do we see? There's a lot to see here. There's a lot of bright color. There's some people here. There's art on the walls. There's the lights. There's various, it looks like toys and things that we can buy. But the main thing is that there's a lot of candy. So there's a lot to describe of what we see. We could also describe what we hear. If we were there in the scene, what do you think you would hear? It's a candy store. Do you think that they would be playing some kind of music? What kind of music do you think they would be playing? Do you think it would be classical music? Do you think it would be like heavy metal? Probably not. I'm guessing that if we were in this candy store, they'd probably be playing like some pop music, something really fun and bubbly and light. You could pick a song that you think your reader would know and describe that, you know, like a Miley Cyrus song is playing over the store speaker, or maybe the Beatles, or just something, you know, really light and fun is playing while you're in this candy store. What do you think your reader should hear? I mean, what do you think your reader should smell? There's lots of candy. Maybe they smell cotton candy. Maybe they smell lots of sugar in the air. What do they feel? As the reader steps inside the store, maybe they reach out and they grab a handful of jelly beans. What would that feel like? What does the floor feel like under your feet as you walk in? Is the ground really sticky from tons of sugar that's been dropped on the ground? How does, you know, maybe, you know, you have your character taste some of the candy and describe how it tastes. Try to get those 5 senses in there. And don't say that you know, that you felt happy or that, oh, it was so much fun, because that would be telling. Instead, let's see how much we can show or really get the reader to experience this candy store for themselves. All right, let's see what we're saying in the Q&A box. One viewer is talking about in general that this is what they do. This is Isis saying that that's what they do when they write poetry. Yeah, that's a really good example. In general, imaginative writing, descriptive writing, using these 5 senses, it's really important for creative writing and for poetry too. Poetry is like a type of creative writing. You really want to try to get your reader's senses involved. That'll make poems more fun. It'll help people picture your poems more easily. That's a really good point. All right, here we go. Okay, so Milo says, it was like being in a dream. There was candy everywhere, like the dream for tooth decay. Yeah, that's good. Layla says, the shop was bustling with people talking and laughing. Excellent. Isha says, the neon and colorful place gave me jazzy vibes, which made me suddenly break into a hip hop jig. The sweet scent of sugar and sweets filled the air as I dove my hand into the sour gummies, which made my tongue pop. I love it. That's very descriptive writing. I love that you're showing all that. It's like when you said the word sour gummy, I felt like I could suddenly taste a sour gummy because I love, you know, sour gummy type candy. the more you can describe what they're seeing and tasting, it's like you can pull up the memories and the experiences of the reader. The more that you try, it's like you can activate what your reader has experienced themselves in their own life by trying to describe as much of the things that they might have seen and tasted too. So you did a great job there. Isis says, it was so bright and colorful that I couldn't see. Pop music was playing in the background and people were rushing around trying to get to everything before somebody else took everything. It smelled sickly sweet and I immediately wanted to leave. Awesome. Yeah, you could not, for some people, this is a really happy scene. For some people, this is not a happy scene. This would be maybe too much sugar, sugar overload, too much bright colors. It's totally okay to describe it as like a negative experience, not a happy one. All right, Anya says, the store smelled of the best thing ever. The noise was like thunder with all the kids stuffing little bags with all the M&Ms, gum, and candy as though it was gold. Oh, I love it. If anybody here did our Understanding Imaginative Writing seminars that we did a couple weeks ago, you guys are making great examples of imaginative writing. With imaginative writing, you can compare something to something else. Saying that they were stuffing the candy into bags as though it was gold, that is a great comparison. We all know how valuable gold is, and if there was just piles of gold lying around, we'd be stuffing that gold into bags. So you just gave me a great picture of what these kids are doing. And the sound like thunder as all the kids stuff the bags. I love it. It's really great. All right, Sasha says, the ginormous candy store was playing good music. There were tons of kids begging for candy as I was just staring at the lollipops, mouth watering. Awesome. Good job, Sasha. Fallon says, the warm colored floor complemented the rainbow of colorful foods. Candy of all shapes and sizes lined the walls. Behind the counter, the worker wore a bright smile and rung up customers while doing so. I breathe in and out, the scent of sugar flowing up my nose. Then, with a smile, I walk up to the counter and purchase my goods, my mouth watering as I thought of the delicious creaminess that was chocolate, the spicy hard candy, and the sour gummies. Happily, as if in a dream, I then walked out, bag in hand. You guys are doing a great job, Fallon. That was wonderful. So much description. You're getting so many of our senses involved in this. It's really great. All right, Lorna. There was noise everywhere as my mom guided me through somewhere. I was about to ask if I could open my eyes yet, and then my mom said, all right, open your eyes. When I opened my eyes, I thought I was dreaming. There were sweets everywhere. It smelled more wonderful than baking bread. I heard pioneers playing over the speakers, and I began to sing along. It was amazing. That's a great sense of happiness and fun that you put through there without using the words happy or fun. You made me feel all those feelings just by describing what was happening. So great job. Evelyn says, it had many different bright colors all over, and the air smelled of all sorts of candy. There were toys and candy everywhere. There were many happy people, and hip-hop music was playing. Very fun. Joseph and another viewer asked, is my background behind me real? Am I in a library? No, we've just been having fun this week. We've been doing pretend backgrounds. I wish I was in a library that looked this cool, but no, this is just a fun background. All right, so I think we have time to read just a couple more, and then we're going to go on to the next picture. Let's see. All right, Shanna says, as the kids ran into the colorful, candy-filled, lively store, the greeter said with a cheerful smile, welcome. You walk all around the store. There are millions of jelly beans and Skittles and lollipops. One of the employees says, try anything you want. Everywhere I looked, there were people tasting and buying sweets. I walked over to the sour jelly beans and I tasted every color that was in there. Suddenly a new song started. Suddenly a new song started. Of course, what other song would play than Baby Shark? Yeah, I can see Baby Shark playing in this song in this store because it's light, it's poppy, it's kind of silly and fun. And if you're like me and you have small children, you have heard it many, many times. All right, good job. Layla says, the shop's vibrant color scheme made me think of the 80s. The smell of the shop was nauseatingly sweet. It was filled with cotton candy and sour gummy worms. Wonderful. I think we have time for 2 more, and then we're going to go on to the next picture. Madeline says, as I walked into the store, sweet smells of candy and bright colors of toys and walls surrounded me everywhere. Everywhere I looked, people were plunging their hands into the nearest bucket of creamy chocolate or squishy gummy bears, plucking cotton candy from the shelves as though taking apples from a tree. Oh, that's great. Really good job, Madeline. All right, last one. This is Ethan. Ethan says, there was a colorful checked ground, pink and yellow squares. There was so much candy, enough to make you want to salivate and throw up at the same time. There are pictures on the wall, pictures of people posing and wearing funny outfits. The smell, intoxicating but wonderful as well. A song plays in the background, but all you notice is the succulent-looking candy. And suddenly, you shoot your hand into a bowl of free candy and shove it into your mouth. It tastes like heaven, but you know that you must move on. Everyone in the room is bustling, trying to fill as much candy into their bags as they can. Everyone had big smiles on their faces as they walked around. You guys are great writers. You're doing a great job. I love it. All right, we're going to move on to the next picture here. You guys have lots more great answers in the Q&A box. We just don't have time to read every one of them, but I want to let you know I'm going to read every one of your great writing samples you've put down. So don't worry, we are going to read them all. I just won't have time to read them all to the rest of the webinar. All right, here's the next picture. This one's going to be very different from the last one. Are you ready? Oh my. Oh my. How can we describe this house we see here? We could use words like haunted house. That's immediately what it looks like to me. But here's your challenge. Can you describe this house, this building, without calling it a haunted house? How could we describe this by just saying what we see? Let's just describe this building by showing instead of telling. Let's try not to use the word scary or haunted or house of horror or anything like that. How can we really put the reader standing here looking at this house while we're looking at the house? Because again, remember, if you're writing a scary story or you're writing a novel that's like a scary book, the reader might not have pictures. So how can you put this picture in the reader's mind? I look forward to reading your responses. In the meantime, one person asks here, does Delphi have a library? Yes, yes, we do. It doesn't look as cool as this library in this picture behind me, but I love the library. Yeah, we have a library that has all of our school books, and it has a bunch of fiction books too. So yeah, if you ever come to school, come on by. It doesn't have 2 stories like this. This library in this picture behind me kind of looks like something from Beauty and the Beast. If you love to read, every reader wishes they had a library that looked like this. So, all right. Let's see. I think some answers are starting to come in. I think most of you are still writing. Somebody asks where this picture came from. Does it come from a movie? I think it comes from a movie. I don't know what movie. I was just looking for some pictures on Google Images, so I think I typed haunted house in, and this was one of the pictures that came up. But when we describe it, we don't want to use the word haunted house. That is too much of just telling. You know, a few of the things that I see when I look at this picture, there's of course the, you know, some of the windows are boarded up. A lot of it looks really broken down. The paint looks really old, and you know, it looks like this building is rotting. Most everything around it is dead. But one interesting thing, if you look right here by this rusted gate, there are sunflowers, and they look like they're blooming. So that's interesting. I wonder why there's some yellow sunflowers by the gate. Maybe your story would have an answer for that. It looks like I see right here some no trespassing signs. The gate itself looks like it's been dented and kind of run into a few times. The porch looks like it's collapsing. This tree outside looks pretty dead and old. So maybe we can include some of that in our description. All right, let's see if any of our descriptions are ready. Here we go. You guys are putting some descriptions in now. All right. So Maya says, if the black burnt-looking wood on the house wasn't scary enough, the dark clouds swirling in the background, the sound of a wolf howling, a hair-raising howl, and the eerie feeling that anything could be on the other side of the boarded windows. Very nice. I love it. Good job, Maya. Isis says, it was so broken down that landscapers would have nightmares. The windows were boarded up and the steps were collapsed. It was so dusty that from 20 feet away, I was already sneezing. There was a dead-looking tree that almost looked like it had fingers. The house looked abandoned. Good job. Good description. Layla says, the house looked gray, like it was out of a black and white movie. It had boarded and broken windows. It had been abandoned for several years. Only a few sunflowers stood in the front lawn. Besides the sunflowers, every other plant that stood around the house was dead and had been for years. Layla, that's a great description. I love it. I love how you pointed out that the sunflowers are alive, but everything else is dead, because immediately as a reader, it makes me super interested. I said, I see, they pointed that out. I wonder why that one plant is still alive. Seems like there's some magic or something going on here. All right, Isha says, the mellow mood suddenly entered my body as I stepped into the old rickety mansion. A freezing shiver ran down my spine. Dark clouds started to rise above it, and the shattered, broken down window was swaying like something out of the ordinary. Then I saw it. But they don't say what, so we're on the edge of our seats. There's a cliffhanger. I love it. Milo says, creaking and moving in the wind as you watch it, the sky turns stormy and dark. As the house sways in the wind, you notice the door swings open and reveals an angry man. He says it's the guy earlier in the slideshow that was angry. I love it. Good job, Milo. All right, Joseph says, as I walked into the glamorous room, oh, okay. I think this is from earlier. This is for the candy store. We can read this really quick. Joseph says, as I walked into the glamorous room, I knew I would break my diet. I walked into the smell of chocolate. I asked for my mom's wallet. As I jump into the delight of the plush toys, I grab a bottle of Coca-Cola and a grin on my face starts to form. Wonderful, Joseph. Do a little bit of back and forth from the happy to the scary here. Okay, back to the scary house. Fallon says, a dark and downtrodden house loomed above me. Spider webs were in the windows and boards covered the doors. A lone tree spread its splintery fingers toward the sky, bare as the rocks it stands on. Grass grows through the cracks in the rocks and malnourished dirt, dry and delicate as a skeleton. I ventured forward, trying to find a way into this mysterious house. I wonder what happened to it. I wonder what happened to the inhabitants. As I finally find a crack to slip inside, these thoughts race through my head. As I slip inside, one last thought fleets into my mind. What might happen to me? That's wonderful, Fallon. That's some great writing right there. Very good job. Evelyn says, the house looked grim and foreboding. It had an overgrown yard and was falling down. And by its fence, there were sunflowers, like someone had tried to make it look more cheerful. Good job, Evelyn. Well done. Anya says, it was today, the day I had to deliver chocolate to houses to earn money. I was so excited, but that was a mistake because when I took a left on Cherry Avenue and right when I saw it, I screamed. I felt myself close my eyes, and when I woke up, I was in heaven. Oh man, a lot is happening off page there. That's great. All right, Sasha says, the house across the street looked unusual. More than just unusual, kind of like someone in the house was possessed. I begged my mom to move, but she refused. I dared and went to the mysterious house till I saw some sunflowers alive. Someone lived there or owned it till I figured out the house was owned to none other than my mother, who was possessed. Or was she? All right, good job, Sasha. You guys are putting a lot more great answers in here, but we're going to look at one more picture before moving on. Because I didn't want to end with a scary old house. So for our last one, here's your picture. We've got a dude jumping off some rocks into the ocean. What could we describe about this picture? Well, of course, we could describe the rocks and the cliff. We could describe that water. Oh, look how blue it is. Look how deep it looks. Oh man, we could describe what it feels like to jump through the air. We could describe the feeling of wind, or maybe how it feels to jump off of something really high. What's it going to feel like when he hits the water? Is it windy that day? Is it warm and sunny, or is it kind of cold? We can describe what he hears. Are there seagulls, making sounds? I don't see any seagulls, but maybe we hear something. What does he see? Is he looking down at the bottom, wondering if he's going to hit the bottom, maybe hit the sand down at the, underneath? Is he going to drop through all the water, or is it deep enough? Is he going to be fine? So what does he see? What does he hear? What does he feel? Are the rocks rough beneath his feet as he jumps off? Are the rocks hot? Is this like a tropical island? Is he jumping off for fun, or is he stuck on this island? So he's jumping down because he sees a fish and he's going to try to grab it. Let's not tell the reader what to feel, but let's show them what's happening. Let's describe it and describe all the things that we see, hear, feel, maybe even taste. Maybe he's got salt water in his mouth from the last time that he jumped. I am looking forward to reading your guys' descriptions. All right, here's the first one. Nalia says, I fell off the rock. The breeze hits me and I just see water. Ouch, I hit the bottom and I belly flop. I'm going to finish this and get through it. Good job, Nalia. Joseph says, as I jumped off the cliff, I felt like I was airborne. It was like I jumped off the transcontinental building into the Pacific Ocean. The seagulls glare at me. Hold on. The seagulls glare at me, and the tropical breeze hits me. Unfortunately, I jumped towards the rock. What will happen? No! Good job, Joseph. Milo says, I leaped into the clear blue sea, waiting for the frigid shock of the water to shock the ghost that was possessing me from the dark old house. Milo, I love how you always link your examples together. It's really great. Good job. Your examples, they tell an ongoing story in between all the pictures. All right. So what else could we describe here? How can we really make the reader feel like they too are experiencing this jump. Ahmed says, I think he wanted to feel free to jump, and because he is, he did not go to the beach for a while. Okay, good. I think some of you guys are still writing. I think there are going to be some great examples. Everyone's putting a lot of information into this example. It's our last one of the day. Isha says, I hesitated at first, but then I knew I had to do it. I heard seabirds screeching at me to take the dip. I was about to hop back with my friends in the Jeep and deny the dare to jump. Suddenly, they abandoned me and there was no turning back. I plunged into the icy, cold, salty seawater. That was the moment I felt my confidence rise. Very good job. That's awesome. I feel like we're there by the ocean. While we wait for some more of these ocean examples to come in, Lorna just put one in. That's from the haunted house a little bit ago. So we're gonna go back for 1 second, and I'm gonna describe the haunted house. And since we don't have the picture up on the screen anymore, you guys get to experience it and really see this picture in your mind. Lorna says, I heard the gate creaking the second I stepped out of the car. The stairs moaned as my mom and I walked up the stairs. I excitedly asked, can I open the door? My mom handed me the key and I opened it. A whole colony of bats flew out, screeching. Can we stay outside? I asked. As we turned, I noticed that there were a couple of live sunflowers in the midst of dead plants. When I looked up, I saw the boarded window move. A moment later, I screamed. A hand thrust a knife out and it just barely missed me. I ran to the car and jumped in. I said, go. I began to stress eat the candy that I had gotten from the candy store. Oh, that's funny. Good job, Lorna. All right, here's a couple more ocean examples that go with this jump. Vicky says, I remember this trip vividly, but most importantly, I remember what the emotions. At first I was scared, but once you leaped, you were free. It felt like all your troubles slipped away while you left the hot rocks and landed in the water. The sting of the water reminded me of how life hurts, but soon it went away as the cool ocean water soothed the pain away. The salty taste of the water, the sound of the angry seagulls, because I scared away their meals, but all you could do was smile. Oh, how I remember this trip. Good job, Vicky. That sounds like poetry. That's awesome. Madeline says, jumping off the smooth sea-sprayed rocks, I plunged towards the tropical bright blue water beneath which that of what we don't know hides. All thought pushed from my mind as I hit the end of my fall and floated back to the top to do it again. Great example, great description. All right, we're going to read 2 more examples and then we're going to be done for the day because we're out of time. Maya says, it was a perfect day. The crystal clear water reflected the sunshine. Bob is ready to enjoy a great day at this amazing location. However, soon he realizes that doing a belly flop wasn't going to be good once he hits the water. And moments later, the frigid water enveloped him, and suddenly the amazing sunny day above began to fade away. Really nice. Good job, Maya. All right, last example that we have time for today. Ethan says, the ocean is swirling happily, making you want to laugh and dance and sing all at once. You feel so happy that you think you can fly. The rocks are gray and covered in grass, yet they are wet from the water sloshing gently against them. The sky is so blue, blue as the ocean under it. The birds screeching loudly at you in the sand as if asking for food. Really, really nice. Very well done. Well, very good job today, guys. I'm going to read the rest of your examples, but I have to let you go, so we can't share any more right now. But thank you all for spending time with us today in creative writing. Thank you for writing all those wonderful examples. Tomorrow, we're going to have another creative writing seminar. We're going to be talking about starting stories. How do you get off to a good start? Where should you begin? How do you make a story really grab your reader from the beginning? That's going to be our topic. So Thanks for coming today, and I hope we'll see all of you back tomorrow at 2:30. See you then.